guys, welcome back to another video. Today's video is another Weird Wisconsin, and today I'm going to be talking about natural disasters. Now when it comes to natural disasters in Wisconsin, it's very rare. We're not on a fault line, we're not on a coast, we don't have a lot of issues with wildfires or hurricanes or tsunamis or earthquakes. We're pretty safe when it comes to having a natural disaster. A majority of our natural disasters are tornadoes. On average, Wisconsin has about 23 tornadoes a year. However, they usually range from EF0s to EF2s. Now, there is a scale when it comes to tornadoes. It goes from EF0 to EF5. EF5 is the highest on the scale, and it is the worst. Those are the 200-mile-per-hour wind tornadoes, that scary ones. Not saying an EF0 isn't scary. There is a wind speed that determines what level it goes to, and each section slowly gets more. In Wisconsin, most of the tornadoes average between an EF0 and an EF1, with a few EF2s. EF0 has wind speeds from 65 to 85. EF1s have 86 to 110. EF2s, 111 to 135. EF3s, 136 to 165. EF4s, 166 to 200. And EF5s have more than 200-mile-per-hour winds. The state average for tornadoes is 23 a year. However, the most recorded in 1 year was in 2005 with 62. Last year it was 45, which I believe is the third most listed tornadoes in a year. I think right above that there was a year with 47. Now the Wisconsin tornadoes cause damage, but not severely. I've lived through a few tornado warnings where it's gotten scary outside, but my house has had minimal damage, if that. I've never experienced a really bad tornado, at least that I can remember. The last EF5 to hit Wisconsin was on July 18th, 1996 during a tornado outbreak. This outbreak produced 12 different tornadoes, caused $40 million worth of damage, and I think 12 people were injured. This tornado was the last EF5 to affect Wisconsin. It leveled homes, it pulled trees out of the ground, it caused a lot of damage, $40 million worth of damage. So EF5s are not a common occurrence in the state. There has to be the right atmosphere, the right things put together to create these. Since 1950, the deadliest tornadoes have occurred on June 4th, 1958, where 19 people died and 110 were injured. Right behind that is June 8th, 1984, where 9 people were killed and 200 were injured. However, the deadliest tornado, the one I'm going to be focusing on today, happened in 1899. It is known as the Richmond Tornado. It is the deadliest tornado in Wisconsin history. On June 12, 1899, the Gomer Brothers Circus, which I actually touched on in my Wisconsin Circus video, drew hundreds of people to the town of New Richmond, Wisconsin, which had a population of about 2,000 people. At around 3 p.m., the sky began to fill with clouds and darken. At 4:30, a heavy rain and hail started. At around 5, it petered out a little bit, so people started heading home. Now, after the circus, people were out shopping, enjoying the town, just hanging out in New Richmond. This was, I don't know if I'd consider it a mistake, but probably not the smartest thing to do. At around 5:30 p.m., the tornado reportedly touched down just 5 miles outside of Hudson on the eastern bank of Lake St. Croix. Sorry if I said that wrong. The tornado was described as a boiling cloud and was reported to have skirted the hills to the east of St. Croix before moving off to the northeast. Passing clear of Hudson and following both the Willow River and the Omaha Railroad, the tornado destroyed several farms near the rural communities of Burkhardt and Boardman as it traveled northeast. At Boardman, there were 4 reported deaths. The first reported casualty was Kate Heffron, a 55-year-old woman that lost her life when the tornado destroyed her house. The home and farm of 70-year-old Louisa Hurd also sustained a direct hit. Miss Hurd and 13-year-old Gertie Weirs were both killed as the home got swept away. Weirs had stopped in along with her father, and brother to visit, both of whom managed to make it to the cellar before the storm hit. John Nietzsche, a young farmer from Deer Park, was driving with his intended bride and had stopped at the Herd farm to seek shelter because the winds were picking up. However, he was killed by flying debris. His bride was unharmed. One of the New Richmond residents in 1899, Anna Epley, described the kind of cloud that she was looking at. A top-shaped cloud came dancing up along the lake. Another mass or column of cloud came from the vicinity of Stillwater. These two clouds were merged together in a funnel-shaped column, or columnar mass, spreading somewhat at the top and boiling or tumbling rapidly within itself. Thus agitated, it turned eastward, skirting the hills south of Hudson and hugging the ground closely. It took a northeasterly course towards New Richmond. The tornado moved toward the northeast, continuing along a course almost parallel with the Omaha Railroad system. It was like just twinning it up. Most of the destruction after that point was contained to rural areas, just destroying farm after farm after farm, picking up houses and disintegrating them. Just woo! The tornado struck several farms across the Stanton area and passed barely a mile north of the village of Deer Park before crossing into Polk County. It came within 2 miles of the village of Clear Lake, frightening residents, obviously, who had experienced a similar tornado that had struck the town in September of 1884. So they were looking at this like, no, don't you even dare. Don't you even dare. A large number of farms in the area suffered considerable damage, causing a lot of farmers to be homeless, if not dead. One farmer, Sam Olson, was killed instantly when a tornado leveled his farmstead, leaving his wife and son seriously injured. Moving northeast of Clear Lake, the tornado swept through the logging community of Pineville, where another farmer, Michael Kentz, was killed when his home was swept away. It seems like this tornado was hitting houses and just picking them up, whether it meant the house got picked up and then destroyed in the tornado, or the tornado hit it and just gone. A 10-mile-long swath of F2 damage occurred in the Deer Park, Clear Lake area. The tornado was close enough that it was causing, like, instead of EF5 winds, it was EF2 winds. Not as bad. It was causing damage, but it didn't directly hit them. Several homes and farms in the vicinity of the hamlet of Richardson and the village of Clayton were blown away. Just gone. The storm continued east into Barron County and hit the farming community of Arland. Almost the entire settlement was demolished, but no fatalities or serious injuries. So just the town itself was just gone. Somewhere along its path, it picked up a 3,000-pound safe and carried it for an entire block before dropping it. Gotta have some powerful winds if you're picking up a 3,000-pound safe and not just dropping it right away, but carrying it an entire block. I hope it didn't hit anybody. The tornado dissipated a few miles southwest of Barron, although the storm was still strong enough to cause a considerable amount of damage. The storm had blown down telegraph lines in the immediate area, so 2 riders were sent to Roberts, 10 miles to the south, to call for help. They're like, we need assistance. No. These messages were sent to St. Paul, warning of the tornado and letting people know of what has happened. Altogether, the tornado and the subsequent fires that were caused by said tornado, because obviously when a tornado hits something, let's say an oven was on, fire's gonna start. These fires burned throughout the night, destroying entire business district, along with more than half the residents in town. So any buildings that survived the initial tornado, or partially survived, were then lit on fire. So that's just awesome. The damage to buildings was ranged between about 230 to 300. So, a lot. The only significant surviving structures were the lumber and roller mills located on the banks of the Willow River, the town's public school, and the Catholic Church, which acted as either makeshift shelters or morgues. Ugh. Only the heavy northwestern and southwestern portions of the city were saved. The town's electrical plant and water facilities were destroyed. So there was no way to counter the fires that were now taking over the town because they had no water to use. Many bodies were found in the aftermath of the tornado, and some of them were burnt beyond recognition, making It's very difficult to figure out who was dead and who wasn't. It was also impossible to tell if these people had died in the tornado or if the fire had killed them. In the days following the tornado, the list of those killed in the tornado gradually grew, as several injured people died in various hospitals in the area. On June 22nd, 57-year-old Ward Gold died from complications due to the storm. He received internal injuries and eventually it took him. After his death, the total racked up to 117 dead and 150 others injured. The dead included the 4 at Boardman, 2 in Polk County, and the remaining 111 in the vicinity of New Richmond, including 5 victims who were never identified. 66 were residents of New Richmond. Another 31 resided in adjacent townships of Richmond, Stanton and Erin Prairie, and the remainder were mostly from other communities nearby, such as Hudson, Stillwater, Star Prairie, Baldwin, and Glenwood City. Among the dead were 26 children under the age of 16, including a 10-year-old boy who was never found. The town was damaged so severely that it essentially had to rebuild completely. Damage claims exceeded $300,000, which is about $11.4 million in today's money. However, damages have been also claimed as high as $600,000, which is about $22.8 million today. Surveys of the damage caused at New Richmond and elsewhere determined the tornado had a damage path of roughly 400 to 500 yards, or slightly over a quarter of a mile in width. In terms of fatalities, the New Richmond tornado ranks 9th in the deadliest tornado in U.S. history. At the time of its occurrence, it was ranked the 3rd deadliest tornado in American history, flanked only by the 1840 Great Natchez Tornado and the 1896 East St. Louis Tornado. Since 1899, the record has only been surpassed 6 times, those being the Emmett Purvis Tornado in 1908, the Tri-State Tornado in 1925, the Tupelo and Gainesville Tornadoes in 1936, the 1947 Woodward Tornado, and most recently, the 2011 Joplin Tornado. According to the research compiled by meteorologist and tornado expert Thomas P. Gonzalez, the New Richmond Tornado was the first determined EF5 in American history to cause a death toll exceeding 100, as the rating for the Natchez Tornado has never been officially determined, but it is likely was at F4. And the East St. Louis is an EF4, which means that this tornado was actually worse than those two. Yes, it didn't kill as many people as those two did, but it actually was worse. So just because it's not an EF5 doesn't mean it can't cause a ton of damage. I mean, those tornadoes did a lot more damage to human life than this one did, but they weren't even EF5s. This was a quarter of a mile wide. It caused a ton of damage. It just picked up houses, destroying them, causing people to go homeless, if not dead. I mean, there was an EF5 in 1899, and as far as I'm aware, the next EF5 wasn't until 1958. There might have been one in between that 59 years, but that's a 59-year gap. There was another one in 84, another one in 96, and there has not been an EF5 since then. So hopefully, cross fingers, we never get another one. However, with global warming and all this stuff that's happening, I wouldn't be shocked if we got more of them. Now, I have never personally lived through a really bad tornado. I have lived through tornado warnings where things have been thrown around, trees have gone down, bad storms. I've only ever seen one tornado, and it never touched the ground. And I'm not even sure if it was a tornado, but I'm pretty sure it was. I was at work at a pool, which is like the worst place to be. And we walked outside and watched as the clouds were spinning in a tornado shape. If I can find that video, I'll put it in here. Now, it never touched the ground. And, you know, I'm not a tornado expert. Maybe that's not even a tornado. But my brain tells me that it was, because it looks like one. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I wanted to do something interesting with Wisconsin history. I wanted to do a natural disaster story, but with Wisconsin, there aren't many. I knew we got tornadoes, but I've never experienced a bad tornado, so I didn't know if we ever even had any F5. Now I know that we have. Rare, far between, but they do occur. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll be back again next week with another one. Alright guys, I'll see you later.